Well, welcome, MicroGiants, to another event with the Consulting Amigos. We just have three of us amigos here today. It is in the holidays. We're recording on the 26th of December, so we lost one amigo, but nonetheless, the three of us will carry the weight. And we're going to talk about, and it's a very timely subject because we're really finishing up with the Christmas season behind us, first numbers coming in, talking about really small business and what are their prospects for next year. I'm going to set the stage here real quickly, and then we'll just open it up. Um, we're talking about a situation last year where small business health did not really improve very much, and here are a couple of the things that kind of pop up. First of all, there's a growing divide between small and large businesses that really mirrors another divide between low-income Americans and their high-income counterparts. This has been in the news. The income gap has been in the news quite a lot, and it looks as though that there is a gap. But I think the reason that there's a gap is because people with high incomes typically have high assets, and the assets are doing well in this economy, while incomes are not necessarily going crazy. Although recently we've had great income growth across the board. So we've got large publicly traded companies who saw increases of over 12% in the third quarter, but this is profit now, contrasting faltering small business profits. And small businesses are really facing some serious headwinds with high inflation. Consumers, they've already cut 120,000 jobs. That was just in November. So the small business cuts are, you hear about the big IT guys, but they're also coming from the smaller firms as well. So here's just a little chart from Wall Street Journal. They got the information from ADP, and it's really showing the divide between different sizes of businesses. So you've got at the top over 500 employees, and take a look at how many jobs they've created, and then take a look at those that are 50 to 499 and 1 to 49. These smaller businesses here have decreased. So this is where things are going badly. And so we talked about this 3 or 4 programs ago. Our small businesses are really in trouble. So another chart, same place, except the data came from Bank of America. So they've got all these numbers on consumer positive data as well as small businesses. And so if you take a look at the salary growth, you can see that the higher incomes are growing faster. Now take a look at this. This is wild. All the way out here in 23, this is a few years, but not a long period of time, but all the way out here, they didn't grow, but they've gone from there up here to, an annualized growth of 4%. So that's a pretty nice growth. Meanwhile, you've got middle incomers who came down a little bit and now going straight across. But look at the lower income. They are constantly going down. This is not a great trend, obviously. Small business profits are faltering as well. In an analysis of small business bank accounts, and this is by Bank of America, obviously, again, their earnings are slightly lower than they were a year ago. Now, remember, the last meeting we had talking about this very subject was when we pulled up this chart from NFIB stats, and we looked at it I think, kind of in surprise, looking at this long period from 93 all the way through 23. But I've added, based on current numbers, the trend that it looks like to me has happened in 2024 and is happening now in 2025. So this little spike, we dropped down, we went back up. It would be great if we were seeing the majority of customers of small businesses growing their profits But according to this chart, you have as many people losing money, or more people losing money than are making money. And thus the average, which is this line in the middle, is going down. Now you can see it only really, it's not great. This to be able to say, you know, what 2-3% of the businesses make money every year, that's really not great. And we discussed that in detail before. But in this particular case, we only have two big downturns, one in 21. Of course, that was after the dot-com bubble. And then, of course, the big one that happened in early 2008, where things got really bad, and it took us a long time to get out of that. Small businesses actually bounced back in only a couple of years, but it was a 10-year deal for the most part. We didn't, the rest of the economy didn't really get going again until about 2018 or so. And then, of course, COVID hit. So here we are here, and you can see that this was not great last year. And while it doesn't seem based on early numbers that it's as bad as last year so far this year, maybe that's a little better. It is still pretty pathetic. So that's where we're at in terms of, getting started. And so now opening up to the panel, let's talk about where do we go now? What's going to happen?
I have a question, and then
Yes,
I'm
sir.
going to turn it back to you. Um, it would appear that if I look just locally in our area, I know that the increase of Amazon and Walmart in terms of global companies, I presume I can call Walmart a global company, or certainly a
Oh
national
yeah,
one.
it's in China.
Right. And they have
Everybody needs to look at all of those pieces and not get so crazy like John has been say is said, well, wait a minute. I mean, there are other things to do with money. So I'm a little concerned some small business people will just kind of go a little crazy and just overbuy because you didn't need to have that truck. If you need to have a truck, that's one thing, or a piece of equipment, or.
I would much rather invest in real estate than a truck. It
exactly.
doesn't matter what
Okay.
type of tax advantages there are. Real estate is a safer investment.
But now
It's
you're a plumber. You're,
appreciated.
you're a plumber. Are you going to spend your money on real estate and get like a new office building?
Well,
You're
no, you'd have to be in
investing.
the real estate business.
Oh,
That's
okay, yeah. See, as
no,
an
that's
as an investor, you like real estate, but the guy's a plumber. Well,
a little bit of real estate
unfortunately,
that he has.
right. And there's an opportunity, however, for smaller businesses like that to buy real estate.
Yes.
When it makes sense and the location is amenable and so forth, because that stuff over a long period of time will make a difference in your overall asset portfolio.
But the plumber may invest in other real estate opportunities, not just a building for for his plumbing
Sure,
operation.
sure, sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I think John's strategy makes a lot of sense to me anyway.
Well, I think it
Well,
comes back to if you're going to go and if you want to take advantage of your tax, write-off, that's fine. But bear in mind that you're only saving 20%. You're still spending 80. So you're spending a lot of, or was it 30, or is it depending on your tax bracket.
yeah, right.
But you're not saving the 60,000. You're saving, I'd say on average, probably 15 to 20% of that 60,000.
Good point.
That's
Absolutely
what you're
good point.
saving. You're still spending the other 45.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
my attitude is let's spend money on things that are going to have to be replaced in the next 10 years, and let's do it now. And
Hmm.
I've got a workaround automobile that I use for running around. It's a 99, and it's been fine. Well, it's only worth $1,000. Why
Yeah.
would I go out and spend 15 or 20 or $30,000 on a new vehicle for that vehicle that it's not my main vehicle? I mean,
Well,
it
you've
doesn't
already
make
got a
any
couple of,
sense.
and you've already got a couple of nice vehicles. You don't need your run around
Well, I
car to
That's
be brand
true.
new.
I would say the worst investment you can ever do in a business is vehicles, unless that vehicle creates value for you.
There
That's
you
right.
go. There you go.
Yeah.
And in the case of HVAC guys, and their vehicle, go spend your 70 grand on your piece of equipment, get a lift jack on it, get a crane on it, get your 110 volt converters on it. I mean, do it so that now becomes a form of income.
Right.
You actually, but don't do it because you like a nice new shiny truck. That
Right.
is,
Yeah.
sorry to
Look at
say,
it.
it's pretty dumb
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah. Look at efficiency and look at capital you can spend that creates income.
Right.
How can you create income off of your assets as opposed to just taking advantage of the tax? Right.
It's it's
Exactly.
really it's really interesting though. In my experience dealing with small businesses, they will do anything to reduce their taxes.
True.
Anything.
True.
It
And
drives them.
that's right.
And not so excited about making investments into
That's
new
right.
opportunities.
That's right.
And so they're kind of stuck in the mud.
Yeah.
They can't get out of it. That's the way they think. They do
that's right.
not want to pay any extra tax at any cost.
And I'm right with them. But at the same time, you got to kind of catch yourself and go, wait a minute, it's really only 20%. And you have to, all these arguments we've made. I mean, every business person needs to think about what's the other use of that money and how can I make my business grow instead of
Exactly.
how can I save just save taxes? If you're, my tax guy always says, what are you worried about the person, going into another income bracket? You're making more money.
Yeah,
You're
that's
paying
exactly how I
more, but
feel
you
too.
made more. So it doesn't matter. You did fine.
But that's not the way, that's not what drives most of these small
That's
businesses.
right. That's
They
right.
they just don't want to pay the tax.
That's right. They don't.
And I always say you are so lucky to pay the tax because it means you're making a lot of money.
Right.
Well, yeah, but I don't like that either. Mr. CPA, I've got a piece of property that I'm thinking about selling, and the tax on it would be, in my mind, overly obsessive and substantial unless I reinvested it. And I really don't want to pay the tax on it. And so I'm sitting there going, I don't want to pay the tax. But maybe the saner course of action is to pay the tax, put the cash to one side, and then wait for the market to fumble in the area that I want it to fumble in, and then reinvest the money. Maybe that really is the best emotional long-term play. I've got to get over this thing is I don't want to pay the government tax, and I don't. I,
Yeah, I don't either.
so
Well, it comes to real estate. If I sold any real estate, I'd want to invest it in some other real estate so I wouldn't have to pay the tax. That's
okay,
me.
so what are the other options on real estate? Are there REITs? Can we invest in a real estate investment trust? Can I create my own real estate
No,
investment
you
trust?
can't do REIT. I mean, normally you can't do REITs. They won't allow that as a 1031 transaction. So it
Okay.
comes down to this, and a lot of people feel this way. Okay, why am I building all this wealth? All I'm doing is building wealth for the people that inherit it.
Hmm.
Yes.
I will never be able to spend it.
Hmm.
So we have these conversations all the time. And
But that's
one,
that's in fact the really wealthy. That's
yes,
exactly how they do it.
it's like when you sell a business and you sell it to an ESOP and you have the ability not to have pay any type of capital gains tax on that transaction, provided that you hold on to that money in some type of an investment till you die. So that means that you get the interest and all the benefits associated with that money being parked in some account, some savings account or some investment account, but you can't take the principal out because once you take the principal out, tax man will be there to take his portion.
Yeah. And those are all true. But having said that, there are situations where by the time you're done with the tax man or real estate transaction, it doesn't work anymore. It's so punitive. When you're talking about 40% capital gains, big gains over a period of time, and you take a look at what that cash is doing right now compared to what it will do, is just 100% cash someplace else. That 40%, 30%, that makes many of those transactions not work anymore. They don't work. And so you have to be very careful. That's how, I mean, literally, I think some of those big, the big capital gains taxes are punitive in that way. But typically that's not true. I mean, what is it, 20% on stock that you sell if you make a bunch of money in what, less than a year, I mean, or, or more, and but I mean, there are those situations where it's not nearly that much money, but you can see why some people who've held real estate a long time, family buildings downtown, you've got blocks that haven't turned over in 50 to 100 years. And that's because the family owns it. It's still a good investment, and they cannot take a 99% growth in a capital gain on that because that's going to be half of their money. By the time you get done with everything, half of it is
Yeah.
gone. So it's like, no, I can't do that. And it's revalued automatically when it's inherited. So your kids take care of all that stuff. You borrow money to live on if you need to. Your kids pay it back without any taxes. That's how the really rich people do it.
Yeah, that's very true. But people always mention the capital gains tax, the federal, the 20%. They know that percentage or the 15%.
Yeah, yeah.
But they don't mention is that California has no capital gains tax.
Hmm.
It's all ordinary income.
Oh,
So
good
if
point.
you're in the upper brackets, you're paying close to 15% for California tax. So,
Yes,
and you add that onto your federal, it's a big, big number.
it is a big number. Yeah. So therein lies part of the problem. And so that kind of circles back. If your business is in a growth mode and you want to grow that business and build equity in the business, and we've talked about this several times, build real equity. Don't go for your highest percentage profit or your most dollar profit. Build equity in your business. And if you can build equity in your business, you can get around all of these things. And it makes a lot of sense to buy that equipment to grow with the current deduction that Trump has done, and it's a wonderful. I think it's a wonderful stimulus for the economy. I just don't know if small business people will be able to take advantage of it the way I wish that they could. And
Yeah.
hopefully,
And I
maybe
think that's
people
well said.
hearing us today will think a little bit more about that. Okay, any other quick predictions for the year? You're willing to step out and say this is happening in 2026?
Well, I do have one that I'm seeing. I'm hoping what's happening is there used to be, and this is an international global thing I'm thinking of here. I think there was a period of time after World War II and perhaps prior to COVID. I think COVID kind of broke down some of these boundaries. But there was a period of time when the sanctity of a nation was pretty well intact. We understood what invading a nation was, what exerting excessive force on a nation was. And I think now we've got going on, what some people called an invasion, what some people called an exercise. I think Putin originally called it an exercise in Ukraine. It took a long time for people to say, yeah, it's actually war. It's actually an invasion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, but now it's like, oh, so what? I mean, 100 drones went across the border. No big deal.
Hmm.
The point I'm making is the borders are becoming fungible.
Yeah.
We're seeing it in Nigeria. We're seeing it in other areas of the world where all of a sudden nation states are exerting force over and across them, and people are going, oh yeah, I guess that's what you do. Well, I think after World War II, before COVID, that would have been like, whoa, wait a minute. You flew a plane across India? That was a sovereign incursion.
Hmm.
Not that you bombed or put in 200. So I think we've got this one issue is that I think there's a fungible border issue going on where nation states are becoming a little bit more flexible. And I think we're going to see that continued. I don't know whether it's good or bad, but perhaps some of the bad guys are getting some lessons about they can't just be bad forever. They're hiding in
Yeah.
their caves. Well, guess what? Their caves are now available.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
And
they
and
really.
so
Yeah.
I'm not advocating that, but I'm saying this is what's happening. And so
Yeah.
I'm starting to see this be a little bit of a process. And
Yeah.
along with that, I think we're also seeing the need for different ways of collaborating together. I mean, the classic one of McDonald's and Amazon and Walmart, they are collaborating with country, nation states all around the world. They are interfacing in a way that is creating huge amount of friendships and dialogue and work. They're doing that from that end. I think we're going to see it in our the way we work with each other in terms of commerce and in the
Yeah.
military. So that's my takeaway. I think fungible
Yeah.
borders.
You make on the collaboration, I think you make a good point. Small business people do not collaborate very well. I have, the one client that I still have has had a relationship with some very good companies with five other guys, and they get together, and she's a woman. They get together once a week just to talk about problems they have and how they've solved them or how they haven't solved them. And many of them have consultants, and so, my ideas end up, inside, regional or national breweries through my client. And their consultants end up in her head as well. And so they'll work out technical problems together. So collaborate. Try and find people you trust to collaborate. Ed, I know you got predictions. It's going to be just spot on the
Well,
money.
I think it's going to be exciting when the interest rates drop because I think they're going to continue to drop, and that'll free up capital for small businesses, which is a positive thing.
Yeah.
And I think the reduced taxes because of the new bill are going to be a positive influence on small businesses. But I do worry about the small businesses because I very few small businesses are planning for their transition. And what's going to end up happening is that they're going to wait too long. They're going to have some type of crisis in their family, and they're going to have to get rid of their business quickly
Mm.
and sell on for pennies on the dollar or shutter it, and that business will no longer be available for anybody.
More of the same is what you're
More of the
predicting.
same, yes.
But yeah, but at an interesting time. Well, I I had made a prediction a long time ago that I got on maybe my wife reminded me we were having a conversation about streaming video, and I had written an article for the Inland Empire Business Journal in the 90s, in the late 90s, and the discussion for some reason at the time was, will computers win or will TVs win in terms of entertainment over the long period of time. And I took the position, and I'm happy to say I was exactly right. I took the position that computers would ultimately win, that television would lose. And the reason that they would is because, you can't control them. You got the stupid thing. They haven't done very much to increase the usefulness of the control of the television unless you happen to have streaming, and then you have complete and total control of it. So I'm glad to say that that prediction I made, 30 years ago has come true this week, because this week they've announced that streaming has overtaken broadcast in terms of viewers. So given that I was so successful on that, I only had to wait 30 years for it to actually come true. But I'm going to make another, I'll make a prediction for this year. And that is, I think that if we can get past the next 2/3 months without something major happening and throwing us into a bad market, et cetera, and bad economy, I think if we make it that long, we're going to have a boom year the rest of the year. It will be, I won't say unprecedented, but we're going to have very nice growth. If we had 4.3% or whatever in the last quarter, I'm not saying we're going to have, 4.3% for the whole year, but we're going to have a pretty good year. And this is a time for small business to spread your wings, pay attention to what you're doing, and spend appropriately, think about taxes appropriately, do your planning appropriately, and maybe, I guess, plan more than you usually do, because you're going to want to be ready for this. If you're flat-footed, you don't have the money, you don't have the credit, you're not going to be able to take advantage of it. And you don't have the employees. So you've got to really do this well in order to help reverse this trend that the big guys are winning and the little guys are losing. So Closing statements, and we'll wrap up, guys.
It's what we haven't seen that's going to catch us.
Okay. Good. We will end on that note. Thanks very much, guys.
Yeah, catch you.